what's going on, guys? This is Brant with CPC Bodybuilding, the home of men's classic physique. Today, I've got a treat for you guys, previewing the Chicago Pro this weekend in men's classic physique with a special guest. My special guest today is IFBB Classic Pro, Brandon Cooper. Brandon, good to see you, man. How are you?
Good, man. It's good catching up. I know we met at the Pittsburgh Pro, so it's good to get back here and get some FaceTime in with you.
Always, man. Looking forward to previewing this one with you. So what I'll do is go ahead and share my screen with you guys so you can see all of the athletes competing this weekend. But before we get into show details, I want to make sure that I plug our special guest. So make sure you go check him out on YouTube. So Brandon.Coop IFBB on YouTube right here. And then if you guys want to follow him on Instagram as well, here he is right here, Brandon.Coop. So make sure you give him a follow on Instagram too. Got all of his codes right there, so support him. And now without further ado, we're going to jump into the Chicago Pro. So this show is on Friday, guys. So make sure if you are wanting to tune in, you check out this live stream here. So the live stream is going to be here at tvplm.com, where you can pay for this live stream right here. I'll try to be giving you guys the updates. I do have work that day, so I'm going to try to work around that and still make sure you guys are getting all the details of the show and how prejudging is going. But make sure you check that out. I'll put that in the description. But that show begins at 11:30 a.m. Central Time, prejudging, and then finals will be at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Now, prejudging, it's a tentative start. I know classic guys also go on with the 212 guys, so I'm not sure which goes first, but should be sometime around 11:30, maybe 12:30. So here's our full lineup here, guys. We've got Cremo Amari, Theodore Atkins Jr., Anthony Barbera III, Rob Brown, Dylan Bursey, Adam Casey, Rodrigo Coelho, Tony Koch, Gregory Dawson, Javier Duarte, Matt Grego, Patrick Karpuk, Vince Krause, Marof Montanari, Yaki Toribio Perez, Marcus Perry, Tyler Sibley, and Derek Simmons, and Bob Waterhouse. That's our full lineup, guys. Now, Coop and I are going to go through this full lineup and just give our thoughts and opinions on these guys, and then give you guys our top six, our first call out at the end. So our first guy is Cremo Amari, who finished in third place at the Atlanta Pro last weekend, very close to second place. Him and Barbs only separated by a point between second and third. So when we look at his finals posing routine, Coop, what do you see about his physique that might stand out to you?
Really good muscularity. I actually have seen him for a couple of years now. Always comes in really, really hard and grainy. I think that's where he really separates himself. I wouldn't say he's like got the best structure, but I think that conditioning always puts him up there in the mix for sure. And then just the overall muscularity, like no real like lagging weak points. The one thing I would like to see is a little more like separation through the quads, like a little more quad sweep. But outside of that, man, he's real complete. Like overall, just not really any body parts where he's lagging.
Yeah, very balanced, which is something, it's very sought after in classic. So I think Cremo is going to definitely be in the conversation in this show. Definitely, in my opinion, a first call out guy. So yeah. That's Cremo Amari. Next up, we have Theodore Atkins Jr., who placed 8th in Masters last weekend at the Atlanta Pro. This is a photo from the 2022 Max Fit Masters Pro, where he won the 35 plus division. And I think he's got a great physique, especially for a Masters Pro. I think his strengths are definitely his quads and his biceps. So be looking out for him. Next up, we've got Coach Barbs, Anthony Barbera III, last year's Atlantic Coast Pro champion and Classic Olympian, took second place at Atlanta last week. So when we think about Barbs, what typically comes to mind is some of his strengths?
Yeah, definitely conditioning, always coming in very, very shredded. I like his stage presence a lot too. Always displays a lot of confidence on stage. He's definitely grown a lot since last year, and he had a really good year last year. I saw him live at the Texas State show. That's where I really saw how nasty he looked in person. And then I think it was after that he got well. He didn't place, but he was top two at I think it was the Hurricane Pro because he had some car troubles. So gonna be a fun rematch watching him and Marcus hopefully get to kind of settle that one this year.
Oh, that's going to be a hell of a matchup, man. I think we're all looking forward to that one. So that is Anthony Barbera the third, guys. Next up, we've got Rob Brown. So Rob is making his pro debut. He turned pro at the 2021 Masters USA's in Class B over 50 division. And I just noticed he's got great detail, fantastic condition for especially being an over 50 Masters competitor, just superb condition, very great separation through the quads, the abdominals, the shoulders, you name it. That's going to be a threat in the Masters division here because I do believe he's doing Masters as well as Open. So that is Rob Brown making his pro debut. Next up, we've got a guy I definitely want your thoughts on, Coop. This is Dylan Bursey out of New Brunswick, Canada. He's one of those guys, man, who he's got so much potential in Classic. What do you think about his physique?
Yeah, I was impressed seeing him. I think he won the overall at North Americans last year. I had a couple buddies that did that show, and I didn't know who he was prior to that. I believe he's coached by, is it Baker? I forget his name.
Dana Baker.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure he still has some room. He looks taller to fill out his cap. Really, I mean, I think just if he just sticks with it and just a couple years, man, I mean, he's looking at like that first call out at the Olympia. I think if he just continues his rate of progression, I mean, structurally very good, pretty balanced overall. I think some thick adductors would do him some good. But overall, man, I think the sky's the limit for him as long as he just continues to put in that same amount of effort and just continue to grow and fill out his frame.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Definitely a threat here in this lineup. Second place at Vancouver last week. So Dylan Bursey's definitely a guy to watch. Next up, we got Adam Casey making his pro debut. He turned pro at 2019 Universe in Class B. So this photo was taken today, actually. 3 meals and a gallon of water in. And when I look at Adam's physique, I think he's got a solid shape. I really like his quads, the detail through the legs. And it's kind of hard to tell, but I think probably the game that he's going to run into is size. Size is going to be the biggest question in my mind, especially from these side shots right here. You're going to have some guys who are nasty from the side. So may run into some trouble there, but good luck to Adam here in his pro debut. Next up, we got Rodrigo Coelho out of Brazil, a very solid Masters pro, won the Charlotte Masters division, was 7th last week at Atlanta, brings some great crisp condition, great detail and separation through the quads. Next up, we got, this is Tony Koch, who is out of Canada, and he was 10th at the 2021 Toronto Pro, where he made his last appearance. And Coop, if we look at his physique, what are some qualities that you see, at least in this front double, where he's kind of putting his own classic twist on it?
Yeah, man. I mean, it seems like the muscularity is there for the most part, at least from this shot. I can't obviously say, from the back how he's looking, but in this front shot, solid arms, pretty solid taper. A lot of times you see people lose the chest in the front double. This back, I mean, he could use a little more detail in the back, but pretty solid development overall. I would just say from obviously this was a couple years ago, he could have put on some good tissue since then. But like you said, it's going to be that top call out's going to be tough just with the combination of the muscularity and conditioning. I mean, this top call out based on what we saw last week, it's going to be a lot of the same guys, battling for those top spots. So it's going to be tough to get in the mix.
Absolutely. So that's Tony Koch out of Canada. Next up, we have another Canadian. So we got Greg Dawson out of Mississauga, Ontario, who is making his second pro appearance. This was from his pro debut this year at the Toronto Pro, where he finished in third place. So looking at his physique here, what I really like about Greg is he's got plenty of muscularity. Just in my opinion here, I think what it's going to come down to for him in terms of finishing in the top 7 or 8 versus being in, more of that second to third call out is how sharp he is in the lower body. And Coop, when we look at this back shot, what do you think about his back double here?
A lot of thickness in the back. Really, really overall, he was one that I hadn't heard of coming into this, and I looked him up and was really impressed with overall development. Do you know how tall he is?
Shoot, man. I want to say he turned pro in Class B.
Okay.
So he's probably I think he's in that 5'8" to 5'10" range. I could be wrong on that, but
he was one that was I really had a hard time with this lineup. Just that's why I'm going to place, a lot of people based on their resume, and he hasn't competed in a while. So he could really be one of those ones that jump out and surprise us based on his improvement since his last showing. But yeah, overall, I really like his physique, just really balanced. A lot of muscle is what first comes to mind for me.
Yeah, I really like Greg's physique too. Definitely a guy with a bright future. Next up, we got Javier Duarte, who appeared earlier this year. This is from New York. Couldn't find him on socials, but the one thing that sticks out to me, though, he hasn't placed very well this year, is he does have plenty of muscle, especially in the back, and he brings some really, really grainy type of look, especially if you look. I think the condition is a bit spotty in some areas, but in some areas it's just spectacular. But Javier Duarte. Coop, what are your thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, I think what he's missing, and especially when the back shot, just the hamstring detail, a little bit harder there. And then in the front, what's going to help him a lot moving forward is just, bringing out the quad sweep and the lat taper, just to accentuate that waist a little bit. But really solid arms. Like you said, is the conditioning's there in a lot of places, just getting that to be throughout the entire physique.
That's Javier Duarte. Next up, we got a real contender here. Probably one of the most hyped guys in Classic right now, at least through Bodybuilders Without Borders. I know some people have given Daniel a bit of crap for how much he hypes up Matt Grego, but I think some of it's justified. I really like Grego's physique. What do you like about Matt Grego's physique?
Yeah, I saw him at New York. I knew he was obviously doing that show as well. Was really impressed with really the entire package. I think where he is challenged just a little bit is obviously his waist. Overall, his waist just doesn't come in. There's just not a huge taper there, and he's maximizing that. The best. I know he still has some weight that he can fill out his cap. But yeah, I think if his waist was, obviously a little smaller, all the pieces are there. The conditioning's there. He's got enough size. I'd say his arms could come up a bit. But outside of that, there's not really any body parts where I'm like, he needs to bring this up or that up. The confidence was definitely there in New York. So he's one that could easily jump into any of these shows and win.
Yeah, I think he's got a world of potential. And I know a lot of people, including JT last week, were talking about loving to see him in open. I think, man, he would be wild to see as an open bodybuilder. He's just one of those.
Yeah. I saw some people saying that too. It's one of those things where if he loves Classic, just keep riding it out and stick it out with Classic. But I think structurally, if he keeps bringing everything up, we'll have a hard time staying within that cap over time. And just from a year ago, he's put on a ton of tissue, so he obviously has the ability to add size pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's Matt Grego, guys. Next up, we have, let's see, we got Patrick Karpuk, who last appeared at the Chicago Pro last year, actually. And this was before his pro debut last year. He's definitely a bigger guy, pretty tall from what I can remember. And the condition is definitely going to be there. I think really the question is going to come down to structurally how he can kind of stack up against some of these guys. Because I think he looks great. He just might not be the most classic guy in the whole lineup. But that is Patrick Karpuk. Next up, we got Vince Krause, who is making his first appearance in his second pro season. Had a couple of top 10s last year at Savannah, and I believe, trying to remember, Texas. He appeared at Texas last year. But here's a couple of side shots from 2 weeks ago. When we look at these shots, what are your impressions of Vince's physique just off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, conditioning is definitely. Sorry about that.
You're good, man.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Conditioning always has been a strong point for him, even in his amateur days. I believe he turned pro as like maybe a middleweight or a light heavy. Okay, I remember he would always come in really sharp. So he seems to have added a good bit of size. Like that side shot looks awesome. I mean, you put a spray can on that and you throw that on a stage, or like, I mean, there's not much you can pick out from that. Maybe posing, maybe if you were to rotate a little bit more to show that back chest a little bit, but the leg looks great, arm, delt, chest, everything looks to be there in this shot.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely improved from last year. If I pull up the shot, this is just, and I think this photo was taken, this is like 6 or 7 weeks out.
Okay.
This was when he appeared at Savannah last year, and this was a top 10 finish. So, yeah, I think the waist has definitely come in, which is improve your placings in classic. So I'm intrigued to see what Vince brings to the stage this time around. So next up, we've got Marouf Montanari out of France, I believe. So he's one of those guys who I think, we haven't seen him on a pro stage making his pro debut, but he's got a ton of potential. It's kind of hard to pick out some of these shots from his Instagram because they're so scattered and we haven't seen a bunch of updates. But this guy, I think, is a dark horse maybe for kind of like that second call out. This is a shot from Junior Nationals last year where he turned pro in Class C. What stands out to you here in this shot?
Definitely his legs, quads look pretty nuts. It really just depends. Like, was he able to bring his lats up a little bit to complement the legs in this shot, especially when you're looking at like a front double, just because you know what some of these top guys are bringing with that front double, which is going to be, huge flaring lats from the front. But yeah, like you said, it's going to be fun to watch him, out there for the first time, like where he can stack up against these other guys.
Yeah. So he's making his pro debut, guys. That is Marouf Montanari. Apologies if you're watching this, man. I messed up your name. Doing my best here. So next up, we got Yaiki Toribio Perez, and he is just an imposing force on stage. This guy made an appearance last year. I believe his debut was at Texas State, where he was top 10. And this is one of the biggest guys in the IFBB. So, Coop, when we look at this guy's physique, I'm going to try to pick out some decent.
I did see him at that show, Texas State.
Yeah, what were your impressions of him, at least in person, that last year?
I mean, it's like one of those things. All the pieces are there. It's just you got to get 5% sharper. Like if you're at these shows now, and the top call out, there's going to be one thing in common. Everybody's going to have the conditioning. Like you can set yourself apart, or you can set yourself back if you don't have the conditioning. So with him, it's the pieces are there. I would say he is a little upper body dominant in like the back shots and stuff. Like I would say his upper body just so massive. It's a little hard to when you're that round and bubbly, it's hard to catch up sometimes. But Yeah, if he brings the conditioning, I mean, he's one of those guys that look at that. I mean, he could easily come in 100% and beat everybody. It's just a matter of will he be able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. Definitely he's got first call out potential if he brings
Yeah, I mean, that's a wild looking front double. Like everything's there.
it. So that is Yaki Toribio Perez out of the Seattle, Washington area. Next up, we've got Marcus Maximus, Marcus Perry, last year's Hurricane Pro champion and Classic Olympian. Gonna try to find here we go. This is so a little front double here for Marcus. So Coop, what are your thoughts on Marcus's physique? Here's a video from his Olympia individual routine.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of his physique, like his structure, the muscularity. I know he's been in this game for a long time. I think he's an Ohio guy as well.
Yep.
I could tell he was a little off at the Olympia. I think had he came with the previous looks, the first time I saw him was his debut. I think it was the Tampa Pro. I believe he got third.
Yeah.
That was the one the year. Yeah. So I mean, that lineup was nasty. I mean, that top call out was just insane. I really like his physique. Everything's there. It's just bringing everything to the stage 100%. And, if he does that, he's very dangerous.
Yeah. I'm really hoping we see Marcus I mean, if we just get 90% here, I think Marcus can win the show. He's that good.
Yeah.
He's just complete all around, one of the best from the back, in my opinion, the entire.
Yeah, that back relax is always like pretty insane looking, where his adductors are just looking huge and his back is just as dense as they can come.
Mm-hmm. So that's Marcus Perry, guys. Next up, we got Tyler Sibley, who appeared last week at the Atlanta Pro, took 13th. And I think Tyler's slowly making his way up from where he was last year. His conditions improved. He's working with Sebastian, as you guys know. And, I think Tyler's just steadily, climbing the mountain, which is, this game of bodybuilding. It's steadily getting better over time. So Tyler's looking to kind of crack that second call out here in this show. And, I think if everything goes according to plan and they nail everything, he very well could. So that's Tyler Sibley. Next up, we got Derek Simmons, who took 12th at the 2022 New York Pro. NBC News Online didn't have any shots of him. So this is about as good as it gets. These are from earlier this week. My question is the condition going to be there? To me, this looks like he's, a few weeks out. So that's Derek Simmons. And lastly, we got Bob Waterhouse, definitely a guy I want your thoughts on. Took third place at Vancouver last week out of the UK. Now, he was very close to second place. Him and Dylan Bursey were only separated by 1 point between second and third. And I think a lot of people were surprised at just how great Bob's condition was last week. Here's some of the shots. What do you think about his physique, Coop?
Yeah, man, he came in hard as nails, like the separations there. He's got a very clean, healthy look to his physique. I believe he's still natural too, which is just insane how he can come in, that hard and grainy. I'd say if his adductors were a little bit bigger from those front shots, I mean, that would do him a lot of good. But I mean, there's not much you can say about his physique overall. I mean, his upper body is just insane. Just, the shape, his posing, his stage presence was really good. I got to see some clips from that show. The confidence was there. He'll definitely be in the mix here at this show for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of Bob's physique. So that is our entire lineup, guys. Now, Coop and I are going to get into our first call out and pick our winners. All right, guys. So the moment you've all been waiting for, our top 6 picks. Coop, as the guest, I'll let you decide. You want me to go first, or would you like to do the honors?
Man, I'll take a crack at it first, and then we'll see what you come up with. I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days. So again, fellas, this is based on previous appearances and just where I see the classic division heading. I would love to see some people, surprise me and show up and getting that first call out, but we'll go with like a 6-person first call out. I'm going to just go down the list here. I'm going to take Barbs. We got Dylan. We got Matt Grego, Marcus Perry, Bob Waterhouse, and I think I'm missing somebody.
Yeah, I think that's 5.
Let me see. Oh, Cremo.
Cremo Mart.
Yep. Yeah, I missed him. Yeah, so that's my first call out.
That's your first call out. All right. I've got the exact same first call out. Now I can give mine in order if you want to do the same.
Yeah, you want to give yours your top 6 in order, and then so you got the same first call out, correct?
Same first call out. Yeah, but in numerical order, 6th place I got Matt Grego. Show his physique here. Pull him up. Here we go. Yeah, I got Matt Grego. I really like his shape, his structure. He's just very balanced, and I think he's one of those guys. He's continuing to work his way up, only getting better as the weeks progress. Looking to be a little bit tighter this week from Atlanta. I know that's the goal for him in Aceto. I really like Grego. I think what it's going to come down to, though, in terms of this show, is the guys who are going to beat him are probably either going to be bigger and or more conditioned. I think that's really the big thing here. In 5th, I've got Cremo Amari. And I think really structurally is where he's going to have trouble with some of these other guys. Now, I know him and Barbs are only a point separated last week. So this could be, Cremo could surprise us here. He's good enough to, be in that top 3, but I think there's going to be a bit of separation here, especially with a couple of these guys who I have placing ahead of him. I think Bob Waterhouse, that's Coop. I think Bob Waterhouse is going to be in 4th place just because his condition just takes him so far. Like if you look at this, we got John Lay who won the show. We got Bob who took 3rd, and we got Dylan who took 2nd. Now, if you look at this shot, I mean, the difference in hardness and condition is there. And as we know, condition and classic is everything. So I really like Bob. I think he's going to be in 4th place here. And in 3rd place, I have Dylan Bursey. Now, I think what really makes Dylan's physique extremely appealing is his structure. I think he's just got tremendous classic structure, very crisp lines, and he knows how to pose to show off his strengths. So I've got Dylan in 3rd. In 2nd place, I have, so we got a rematch between the top 2 guys at Hurricane last year. They faced off at the Olympia last year, though neither one of them placed, given, we had like close to 60 guys at that show. So most of the show is not going to place, but I got Barbs in 2nd. And I think what it's going to come down to here is it's going to be muscularity. I think Barbs is tremendously improved. He's going to be the most conditioned guy in this show. But where I think Marcus is really going to distance himself is from the back. Marcus has tremendous muscularity. And I think if Marcus is even 90% on, this is his show to win. So Marcus Perry is my winner. Now, Coop, do you want to give yours or?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I'm comfortable with it. I mean,
Good.
It's going to be a great show, man. I mean, this top 6. I mean, truthfully, you could say any one of those could win. It's
Absolutely.
It's going to be a dogfight. I think it's probably, when you look at top to bottom, I mean, it's one of the best classic shows of the year so far. It's a really strong lineup. Pretty similar order as you. A couple things different here. So in 6, I'm gonna take Cremo in 6. I think that Grego is going to jump him from the previous show. I just think I think he'll. I don't know. I didn't see a ton of footage where I could compare the 2 side by side. I just kind of feel confident in that this show, coming in a little bit better. Fourth, I'm gonna take Bob Waterhouse as well. I think where he's going to beat those other two guys is definitely, even if they're as conditioned as him, I think structurally he's going to have it. And he's just real round up top. I like the roundness and fullness everywhere that he displays. Third, same as you, I am going to take Dylan. In a couple years, we could be having a different conversation with this guy. He's going to get to the point where he could probably show up to any of these shows and win. It's just adding that tissue and the density. But real big fan of his look and everything he's got going. He's got a really bright future. Top two, I gotta switch you up on this one. I'm gonna take Marcus in second. I do think it's gonna be a 1 point difference for the top two. I think it's gonna be. I kind of envision like a top two call out with these two guys. I think they might have like a top four call out, but I think it really is going to come down to him and Barbs. Barbs, I don't know. I just feel like he was so good last show, and I have confidence that it seems like he gets better show to show. So if he can just get like 1% better from that last show, I think it's going to bring the edge out. But again, it's that top two is tough, man. In my opinion, I think it's going to be a very close 1 point decision. I like both of those guys a lot. I'm just rooting for everybody to show up 100%. We see everybody show up 100%. That's what makes us love these shows, because then that truly shows who the better person is on that day. Is everybody shows up on point.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is going to be a hell of a show. And when I saw this lineup drop, man, I was stoked just because
I had a feeling Marcus was doing that. He always flies under the radar. I actually thought he was going to be in like New York or something, because he never. Yeah, I like that. He never talks about it. He just shows up and surprises everybody. And I mean, I didn't know he was doing this show until the lineup dropped. So
yeah, I thought he was doing Tampa, to be honest with you, but.
Yeah,
get to see him earlier. It's definitely a treat to always see Marcus. So
yeah, man, excited for this show. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for us today, guys. I want to again thank my special guest Brandon Cooper for joining me. Always appreciate your time, man. Thank you for what you do. And also, again, make sure you subscribe to him on YouTube. So we've got him here, Brandon.Coop IFBB, and also follow him on Instagram here at Brandon.Coop. Before we head out, Coop, you want to say anything to the people? Give any shout outs?
No, good luck to everybody competing this weekend. We all love what we do, and, all we can do is hope to show up our best on that day. But all I can say, bring us something that we all want to see, and that's just get up there and battle and show everybody what you've worked. I mean, we all know how brutal prep is, and we kind of lose our direction in prep as far as taking the enjoyment out of it. So get up there and have fun. And no, man, I just want to thank you for, what you do with the classic division. I mean, we get a little bit of coverage from some of the other pages, but you've really been able to highlight, and we don't get a whole lot of highlights, and being able to actually go into these shows in depth with each person. It's able to allow us to build that camaraderie with each other. And so, yeah, I've been following you pretty much since day one. I saw your page. I think I messaged you. I was like, yeah, man, I've been wanting somebody to do this for a while. So we appreciate it. Appreciate everything you do. Excited for some new apparel to come out too.
Yeah, thank you, man. Really appreciate it. So as Coop alluded to, going to be getting CPC bodybuilding website up and running here soon. Going to do tracksuits, hoodies, and some more t-shirt designs. So stay tuned for that, guys. But again, going to thank my guest, Brandon Cooper, and that's going to do it today for CPC bodybuilding. Make sure you guys check out the Chicago Pro this weekend. See you later.